Good afternoon, folks. My name is Kurt Hitzemann, County Court Judge here in Hernando County. You folks are here for your first appearance. Purpose of the first appearance is so that you may be informed of the charges against you. I'll determine if there's probable cause for those charges. Probable cause simply means it's more likely than not that a crime has occurred, and more likely than not that you're the person who committed that crime. Of course, as you stand before me this afternoon, I presume that you're innocent to these allegations. That presumption of innocence will stay with you through every stage of the proceedings, unless and until the state attorney's office is able to prove the allegations against you beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt. We'll set your conditions of pretrial release today, that is your bail or your bond. In most cases, you've had a bond set already pursuant to the bond schedule here in the 5th Judicial Circuit of the warrant which led to your arrest. I'll determine if that bond should be raised or lowered or left the same, or whether there'll be additional conditions of pretrial release placed upon you. We'll let you know when your next court date will be. If you'd like to have the services of the public defender, I'll gladly appoint the PD to represent you this afternoon. You do have a right to have contact with folks on the outside, family, friends, counsel. If you have not had a chance to make that call, please let me know. We'll make sure that that happens. Finally, and most importantly, you're advised that you do have an absolute right to remain silent with regard to the facts which surround your arrest. I encourage you to do that. These proceedings are recorded. In addition, there is an assistant state attorney in the courtroom with me. If you say something that tends to incriminate you, they will use it against you in the prosecution down the road. Now, I need each and every one of you there at the jail to please raise your right hands and be sworn. You all solemnly swear, affirm, tell truth, whole truth, none but the truth? Outstanding. When I call your name, please step forward to the podium. Jail, is there a John Mara there? It's okay if he's not. I just want to know if he is.
No, Your Honor. Do you need him?
No, we don't. We can do this without him. All right, Mr. All.
Judge,
this is 18MM1182.
I believe that is correct, Judge. Yes, he does have another felony case involving, I think it's his wife, which I was just retained, Judge. It looks like he was arrested on 12/11. It's difficult to determine if he has a bond. I don't believe he has a bond at this point.
I think he got RCO.
So I just asked the court to set a normal bond. I think $2,000. If the court could release him, we'll be in court for him. The felony case, I think, sounds worse than the reality of the way it's charged.
What's the felony case?
It's a domestic battery by strangulation. I spoke to the witness myself. The victim, she does not want to prosecute him.
Shannon Reed, you know anything about it?
I don't know anything about the felony, Your Honor. I believe he was RCO'd on this because he picked up the new case.
Because he picked up the felony.
Yes, Judge. So
I'm not down on what she said, but I had it he was picked up for failing to appear at that court date. That's not.
No, that happened. He had an FDA back in September. It looks like he bonded out on that.
Okay.
And then showed up in December last week. He got RCO'd because in the meantime, he picked up his felony charge. Would be what I did. Is that, Rebecca, sound right?
yes.
Okay. And then the felony. Yeah, because he was in jail last week for the felony.
Sure. Well, if we can't do that, then Judge, what we'd ask is we'll wait till him to approach, and we might be able to enter a plea to this. That would resolve that, and he could send it.
And do you know, Shannon Marie, if he has any history of this side? Because all we have here are these two cases.
The history I'm showing in state was a drop petty theft in 2016. Out of state, there was adjudication for criminal contempt in 2002, adjudication for DUI in 2004, adjudication for obstructing governmental administration in 2000, adjudication for cannabis and other drugs in 2012.
This was NTA at the beginning of the day.
It was, and then the FTA.
It's an old case.
The FTA was from September of 2018. So it
18.
Yes, it wasn't this
December
year.
of 19. He was out in the world for a long time, not committing crimes apparently.
No, did that earlier this century.
Okay. So what I'll do then in 18MM1182, and where is he at? He's coming back. Right now he's set for
January 2nd in front of Judge Healis at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And I'd ask that stay there.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. That would be me taking a case. That's not going to happen. I'll set the bond at the 2,000 and leave him on the 2nd of January for a trial in front of Judge Healis, given the facts that I have that she didn't have.
Thank you, Judge.
Very good.
Have a good day.
You too.
We'll be happy to send it back to you.
All right. Jeannie Schiacovelli. All right. Afternoon, ma'am. What's your date of birth?
10/6/64, sir.
Got a battery on a law enforcement officer that's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll appoint the PD. State any history.
Showing a withhold for unlicensed practice of healthcare professional in 2008, adjudication for organized fraud less than $20,000 in 2008, and a dismissed retail theft in 2007. I'm showing her as a single case offender.
Okay. And Jeannie, I got an address for you on McNeil Road in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been
Your
there?
Honor. I've lived in Spring Hill for 15 years. I live 2 houses away, and it's been a year since I've been at 1308. 1292 is where my fiance, who
Okay.
the altercation happened with.
Okay. And do you have a job these days?
No, I'm not working right now because I have health issues. And I can't get through on the phone to anyone because the way that payphone is working. So
Okay.
I wanted to know if I could get ROR.
Well, I can't ROR you. I'm going to reduce your bond to $1,000. All I can do is tell you to keep trying on the phone. I know it's not ideal, but I've reduced it from 5 to 1, so I'll do that. I'll have you back in court on the 15th of January. Very important that you contact the public defender's office when you get out, all right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Morgan Welch. Afternoon, Morgan. What's your date of birth?
June 16th, 1993.
Charge is battery being domestic in nature. There's probable cause for that charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
I represent myself.
State any history.
None in state and out of state. I'm showing an action was dropped in 2015 for hit and run.
Okay. And Morgan, I have an address for you on Fiskway Street in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been there?
I've been there since May 26th.
Okay. And you live with Mr. DeMint?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a job these days?
Yes, sir.
What do you do? What do you do for
I
work?
work at Airdyne Aerospace.
Say that again?
I work at Airdyne Aerospace as a store clerk.
Okay. All right, so Morgan, I'm going to set your bond at $100. As far as contact with Mr. DeMint is concerned, I'm going to, in a few minutes, order him not to have any contact with you until further order of the court. I'm not going to make any rules with you about contact, but understand he's going to be told not to have any contact with you, so contact will be a bad idea until we start getting these things resolved, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You'll be back then on January 15th for court, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Joseph Dapp. Afternoon, sir. What's your date of birth?
2564.
Joseph, you've got 3 charges today. I've got 2 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, 1 count of making a threat to a law enforcement officer. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PD, State.
He just had adjudication for battery on September 11, 2019. Looks like he got 30 days here in Hernando County. Out of county, I'm showing a DUI from 2008 out of Pennsylvania, an assault from 2007 out of Pennsylvania, DUI from 2001 out of Pennsylvania, retail theft 97 out of Pennsylvania, DUI 97 out of Pennsylvania, and criminal conspiracy and robbery out of Pennsylvania 86.
Okay. Joe, where have you been staying lately? You been staying with a friend or living outdoors? What's been going on?
No, I'm back with my mother.
Okay, what's that address?
Star Road, 13097 Star Road.
Okay, are you working these days?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing?
Do construction work.
Okay. I'll set the bond at $1,000 on each count. That's a total of $3,000. I'm going to have you back in court on January 15th. Very important that you contact the PD if you get out, okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Curtis DeMint. Afternoon, sir. What's your date of birth?
6/11/97.
All right. Charge of felony domestic battery by strangulation. There's probable cause for that charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire a private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Public defender?
I'll appoint the PD, Steve.
Not showing any history, Judge.
All right. And Curtis, I have an address for you on Fiskway Street in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes.
How long have you been there?
May 26th
Okay.
this year?
All right. Do you have a job these days?
Yes.
What do you do?
Sell windshields?
Okay. I'm going to set your bond at $1,000. Condition of the bond is that until we get this case resolved, you'll have no contact with Morgan. No contact means no contact of any kind. You don't call, you don't write, you don't email, you don't text message, you don't contact her any social media. Don't go where she lives, don't go where she works, don't have any contact of any kind. Any way that you might imagine contacting her, I forbid you to do that. If you have contact and we find out about it, your bond will be revoked and you'll be held without bond until the charge is resolved. It means no contact even if she wants to contact, so if you answer your phone and hear her voice, you should hang up. If you're out and about and see her, you should turn around and run the other way. You need to understand that she cannot drop the charges against you. That's not a decision she'll be allowed to make. She may go to the state attorney's office and ask them to drop the charges. She might tell them she's not interested in pursuing this matter, but that decision belongs solely to the assistant state attorney who will be handling your case. So unless that person or the judge on your case or your lawyer tells you the charges are dropped, you should assume they are not dropped and you should not have contacts. As far as that address on Fiskway is concerned, obviously you can't both be there, so if she decides to stay there, you'll have to stay someplace else. You can go by one time to collect your things, your clothes, your toothbrush, whatever you need, wherever you plan to stay. To do that, however, you must contact the sheriff's office first. They'll meet you there with a deputy who will stand by while you pick up your things and get going where you're going. I'll have you back in court on the 15th of January. Very important that you contact the public defender's office when you get out, all right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. David King. Afternoon, David. What's your date of birth?
7/25/85.
All right. David, I have a warrant for you out of North Carolina, but we're going to send this to court on Wednesday, the December 18th at 8:30, so that Mr. Tippin can be there to help you understand what's going on with this, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so you'll be back in court Wednesday on this warrant and have a chance to talk to Mr. Tippin about it and figure out what you want to do, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Daniel Smith. Afternoon, Daniel. What's your date of birth?
6/14/1987.
All right, Daniel, this is a warrant that I signed. Apparently you failed to appear in my court back in October on a charge of expired DL. State says time served takes care of this and you can get back home. Is that something you'd like to do?
Yes, sir.
Very good. You understand by entering a plea, you give up the right to have a trial by jury, the right to confront the witnesses against you, right to remain silent, right to have a lawyer represent you. Do you want to give up those rights so we can resolve this right now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. As to the charge that you were operating a motor vehicle with an expired driver's license, how do you wish to plead? You can plead no contest.
Yes, sir.
I'll accept that plea, find it was freely and voluntarily made. I'll adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 1 day in the county jail, credit 1 day served, fine and court costs is $450, $50 for the day in jail. But that takes care of it, Daniel. If there's nothing else keeping you in the jail, you'll be released today, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Trevor Stewart. Afternoon, sir. What's your date of birth?
3/17/1978.
Trevor, the charge is battery being domestic in nature. There's probable cause for the charge. As to that charge, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the public defender?
Public defender.
I'll appoint the PDs. David?
Showing an action was dropped in 2018 for driving a license suspended on Hillsborough County. Withhold of adjudication on battery on a law enforcement officer, 2006 out of Hillsborough. On adjudication for obstructing or opposing an officer without violence, 2006 out of Hillsborough. Action was dropped for the Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act in 1990. There's older alcohol charges, 98, and he has an out-of-state possession charge with no disposition for 97.
Okay. And Trevor, I have an address for you on Water Lily Drive in Brooksville. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
How long you been there?
5 years.
All right. Does Miss Thomas live there as well?
Yes.
All right. You have a job these days?
Yes.
What do you do?
Metla Toledo, product inspection, fabrication.
Okay. Going to set your bond at $1,000. Condition of the bond is that you'll have no contact with Miss Thomas while this case is pending. Did you hear me explain no contact a moment ago?
Yes.
Did you understand it?
Yes.
In addition, I'm going to hold you at the jail up until 4 o'clock this afternoon so that if she wanted to serve you with a civil injunction for protection against domestic violence, we'd know where to find you. If you get the civil injunction, it's doubly important that you not have contact because in that case, not only could you get your bond revoked here, but you could get new charges for violating the injunction. I'll have you back in court on the 15th of January. As far as that address on Water Lily goes, as long as Miss Thomas stays there, you'll have to stay somewhere else. You can go by one time to collect your things, but you must contact the sheriff's office before you go. Make sure that you contact the public defender's office when you get out, all right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Lira?
Yes, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Kevin. What's your date of birth?
1/31/1964.
Okay. Kevin, the charge is aggravated battery and resisting without violence. There's probable cause for those charges. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like me to appoint the public defender?
Represent myself at this time.
Okay. State any history?
He currently has an open case.
Right. Wallace, right?
Yes, driving a license suspended. He has a driving a license suspended adjudication 2014, fleeing or eluding adjudication 95, DUI adjudication 95, out of state he has an adjudication in 93 for purchase, possession, manufacture, sale of cannabis, and 88 in DUI with no disposition.
All right. And Kevin, I have an address for you on Roble Avenue in Spring Hill. Is that where you live?
Yes, sir.
And was your son living there too?
Yes, but hopefully I'm going to have him evicted.
Okay. Do you have a job these days?
I've been self-employed for 48 years.
What do you do?
40 years. Tile work, stone work.
Okay. Okay. On the aggravated battery, I'll set a bond of $2,000. On the resisting charge at $500, so that's a total of $2,500. Condition of bond is that while you're on bond, you'll have no contact with your son. Did you hear me explain no contact earlier?
Yes. How would I go about that, though, now? I mean, I have to have him evicted? I mean...
Well, that's a civil matter, and you'll have to figure that out for yourself. As far as we're concerned, I mean, and I know you've been listening, I'm going to tell you if he continues to stay there, you cannot go back there unless you can get him removed through legal process.
Well, that's why I was hoping you could ROR me and have me get this taken care of.
No, I can't ROR you, not on these charges. So you'll have, do you understood what no contact meant when I explained it?
Yeah.
Okay. Also going to hold you up until 4 p.m., so if he wants to serve you with a civil injunction, we know where to find you. Like I said, until you find out something else about Roble Avenue, if he's still there, you can't go back without contacting the sheriff's office first. And you'll be back in court on January 15th, all right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No, not gonna. And Jordan Zimmerman. Morning, Jordan. What's your date of birth?
2697.
Okay. So the first thing, the easy thing, Jordan, I have is a warrant signed by Judge Barbie. He found two probable cause for 2 counts, domestic battery by strangulation and a domestic battery. As to those charges, you want to represent yourself. You're going to hire private counsel. Would you like the PD? I'll appoint the public defender. State what you need.
He has an adjudication for burglary of conveyance, tampering with physical evidence from 2018 on Hernando, an adjudication for possession of a controlled substance or paraphernalia 2018 on Hernando, adjudication resisting without violence 2017 on Hernando, adjudication paraphernalia 2017 on Hernando, adjudication controlled substance 2017 on Hernando, adjudication paraphernalia 2017 on Hernando, a withhold for cannabis 2017 along with multiple possession of paraphernalia, adjudications on Hernando, adjudication paraphernalia, another one out of 2017, a dropped battery in 2016, adjudication for cannabis and paraphernalia 2016. And he is a multi-source offender, but I'm not sure if you want.
No. Okay. And Jordan, when I was looking at your most recent history, it looks like you went to prison on a VOP in your last charges and got out in the beginning of October this year. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I have an address for you on Ruth Street in Brooksville. Is that where you're living?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have a job?
No more.
Did you have a job these days?
Self-employed.
Doing what?
Just odd things, anything, mowing lawns, anything like that.
Okay. So what I'm going to do on the warrant is I'm going to set the bond on the domestic battery by strangulation at $2,000, on the battery at $1,000. That's a total of $3,000. Condition of that bond is that you have no contact with Dwayne. You heard me explain no contact,
Yes, sir.
and you understood that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and also, as you also obviously have understood, can't go back to Ruth Street anymore while this case is pending. You can't go by one time to collect your things, but you must contact the sheriff's office. The other
Yes,
thing
sir.
I had was a probable cause arrest for a violation of probation, but I can't see that you're on probation, so I'm not going to find probable cause for that charge. It may be somebody else knows something more than I do, but on that one I'm going to release you on your own recognizance. Both of your cases we're going to move to January 7th at 9 a.m. That's different than the date that they told you. So when you get out, contact the public defender and make sure you talk to them, and then make sure you're in court on the 7th of January, all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hitzemann,
Thank you.